Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rusty 78609. You do not need to see me. I know that it's going to be dark because it's getting dark outside. The temperature outside is 37 here in Central Texas. I mean, it is a little airish. Inside right now, it's about 66 degrees. I got the heat off. Why? I just do that every now and then because that's the kind of guy I am. But lean back now. Get you a nice toddy, whatever it is, wine, whatever you drink, cognac, vodka, tequila, beer, or whatever. And we're going to lean back and remember some things that a lot of people have never been aware of, and maybe you have forgotten too. Who knows? But I'm just going to kind of loosely ramble through some of the things that the way it used to be, you know what I mean? Remember things. And also, it's going to be a Beer 30 fireplace thing, fireside chat, with no real plan other than I did kind of make a couple of notes because I had a couple of memories I didn't want to forget. Isn't that something? How do you forget a memory? I don't know. Oh, that's good. Get you something good, whatever you want. If it's just a glass of water, get it, or a cup of tea, whatever. But listen to this. This occurred to me today after the frustrations I've been through with all the phone stuff. Won't get into any detail there. But I went to Verizon's website, and in the chat room, I was telling the individual that I was interested in a phone, a certain type, and they said, well, you know, I gave them my phone number and my name, and they said they couldn't locate me, that my name and number doesn't exist, or they couldn't find it. And at that moment, it occurred to me, a flashback all the way back to 1975, 45 years ago, you know, many years ago, and even before that, but this just happened to occur in 1975 in that area, 76. I was a CPA controller at a newspaper, family-owned business, had about 150 to 175 employees, and some other businesses they owned. But anyway, everything was done. All information was stored in file drawers. Remember filing cabinets where you actually had to open a file and pull out a ledger or whatever? But that is like Stone Age now, man. I mean, it is so gone, you know? And I remember, how about this? Remember a Rolodex? I bet there's a lot of you never heard the word Rolodex. You know what I mean? You'd roll it and then pull out an index card. Rolodex, how cute. But yeah, I mean, is that amazing? And, you know, card files and ledgers. Oh boy, ledgers, you know, where you had the person's name, address, maybe some other information, and you kept up with their payments and charges and all that stuff. All done manually. Everybody, you had to write in, you know, the charge, and you had to write in the payment, and, you know, everything had to be accounted for. Don't you love the fire? I built that inside of my Google Home device. Hope it doesn't melt. But yeah, think about that. I mean, that was actually the way I was, let's see, 1975, I was 35 years old. Yeah, and that was the way the world was. You know, now 35-year-old guys, they don't know what a Rolodex is, I guarantee you. But I remember one lady there that worked in the circulation department. She's deceased by a long time, I'm sure. But her name was Doris, and I'll never forget her as long as I live. And I'm not going to try to make this story brief because I don't want to. In 75, 76, 78, 79, in that range, the little microcomputers came in, you know, the IBM System 32, Apple had a little thing, and I can't remember, some other people had stuff. But the microcomputers were just getting started. And they started off, they had like 16K, you know what I mean, of storage. You hear me? 16 kilobytes. I mean, that's laughable now. But it did, and it cost like $32,000. for an IBM System 32. And some of y'all may remember, and there was a company called Burroughs that competed with them head on. And, but anyway, I was on the cutting edge of that. And I was interested in it because it fascinated me, but I could see that it seemed to be the way that the trend, I guess. And anyway, after when they started getting pretty good at it, and well, we had a young man that was actually a carrier, a newspaper carrier, that worked in the circulation department part time and went to college, and he was going to be a programmer, or coder today, you'd call it. And his name was Bobby. Great guy. I'm sure he's very successful now. If he isn't, he deserved to be. Hard worker, dedicated type guy, but be that as it may. Here he was in that department. How we got together, I don't know. What it was, I was in the circulation department, and I was looking at how things were filed and how much time it took and how many duplications there were, because that was my job. Try to cut expenses and, keep the company moving forward. That was part of my deal. And I found out that there was an IBM System 32 and a Burroughs, I can't remember what it was called. And so I contacted the companies and had a salesman come by and do their dog and pony show just in front of me, because I don't think anybody else would have understood exactly what they were talking about. I didn't a whole lot, but I was catching on. So to move forward quickly, a year later we had an IBM System 32, and young Bobby, the newspaper carrier, was, quote, head of our non-existent data processing department. And he just did it part-time. And he actually wrote in a language back then, I think it was called RPG2. And he was good at it, and we had some simple little programs and stuff to do, some billing stuff and keeping up. Basically what we were doing was putting into the system all of these ledgers, Rolodex files and stuff, so that you could access them on this little 3 by about, had a screen, the system had a screen about as big as your smartphone. Some of you may remember it. And, but yeah, you could input data or output, but you couldn't do both at the same time. It would not multi-process. I remember that. But later on, we got a System 36, which did all that stuff. You could print and all that stuff, and input, and you had terminals and stuff. But anyway, it blossomed, and naturally it took off, and it's really gone crazy now. But I remember this lady, Doris, and I was trying to explain. I said, Doris, we're going to, all this stuff is going to be, quote, automated, or we're going to put it on the computer and stuff. But what we want you to do is, we're going to give you a computer terminal, and we're going to let it'll be your job to, put it in the computer and, be sure it's accurate. You'll get some printouts and stuff and double check it. She said, I can't do it. I said, what do you mean you can't do it, Doris? She said, I can't do it. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, I cannot touch it. I mean, she had seen some of the other terminals we had, or monitors and keyboards in the newspaper, and she was scared to death of it. She was scared she'd break it, or she was going to do something damage that we couldn't repair, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't. I remember one time, I got her to sit down in front of a computer. And I said, look, Doris, it's just like that typewriter you've been using. The keyboard is the same thing. And, you can't hurt it. There's nothing you can screw up that we can't unscrew, so to speak. There might have been, but I don't think so. But anyway, she would not put her hands on the keyboard. And she actually started crying. Oh, you could have pushed me over your finger. I mean, I thought I was doing the right thing because I was trying to figure out a way to keep her on the payroll, give her something to do till she could retire, because she wasn't that far away from retirement. And anyway, it wasn't, I mean, she actually cried. I mean, that just broke my code, man. I thought, Jesus, Rusty, what in the hell are you doing? And anyway, I told her, I said, well, don't worry about it, Doris. You don't have to use the thing. Don't worry, we got you covered. You can just organize the data for somebody else to do it, blah, blah, blah. I was trying to figure out something in my mind that she could do. And, but as my luck at that time had it, which was either good or bad depending on your point of view, a few days later she came into my office and she said she quit. She was going to go ahead and retire early, and do whatever she had to do to survive and all that stuff. And boy, but that's a story right there that tells you that automating jobs and replacing people with automation is real. Those are real humans that are being replaced. You understand? That's a real human being with emotions and family and thoughts and dreams and plans. And we don't think about that, or I don't think anybody thinks much about that. But anyway, that's the story of kind of automation and how things were at that time back in the 1970s, early 80s. And anyway, I'm trying to see, I got another note here. Yeah, poor old Doris. I mean, I wrote that in big letters. God dang it. But anyway, you know, this moves fast forward all the way to today, and it's going to jump all over because, hold on, y'all take a break too and have a swallow or whatever you're drinking. I'm going to have a beer. Nice fire, huh? I think so. I don't have an external mic, so if the sound is a little awkward or crazy, well, I'm sorry. You know, not that many years ago, and at Verizon and all the phone companies, you could actually get a smartphone and you got a 30-day free look or free trial. You know, if it didn't work correctly at 30 days, you could bring it back and get a complete refund and everybody was happy. Or you might have to pay a $10 restocking fee, something. Now, it's 2 weeks. And it's either a $35 or a $50 restocking fee, no exceptions. So, you know, eventually it's going to be a 30-second free trial and a $100 or $1,000 restocking fee. I mean, it's crazy, man, crazy. What else? No, here's something I thought of. I've been keeping up with what's been going on in China the past several years and how they've progressed and so forth, progressed or regressed, depending on your point of view. But, you know, their society is monitored much heavier than ours by cameras and so forth. You don't use cash anywhere in China now, as far as I know, or very few places will take cash. It's either facial recognition or your smartphone. That's it. You don't carry any cash. But as you do that, as you're doing your daily routine, whatever it happens to be, they keep a social score. And if you are good, then your social score is up. And if you're not, or you do a few things that aren't, quote, along the party line, I guess, then your score goes down. And it actually can get to the point where you couldn't get a car, rent a home, or leave the country or do anything. You'd just be totally prison. You'd be living in a country of a prison. Well, you know, then I moved that over to the United States in my mind. You know, we have credit scores. They just changed the way they do credit scores here recently. And they said, you know, some people's credit scores were going to go down, you know, but blah, 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 made up a lot of reasons. But basically what it's becoming in the U.S. is another social score. You know, because it's not only looking at your payment and your balances on your credit cards and a lot of other things. It's looking at you. I mean, your entirety, okay? And that information is available now. Everything you purchase, everything you return, every comment you make in front of this thing and other things is, if you think it's not recorded, I mean, I hate to say about Big Brother, but it is. Is that negative? No, that's a fact. And what else can I think of? See if I can read my own note here in the dark. Let me turn on the light a minute. Oh yeah, here it is. This is one. Everything's on a timer now. Okay, you ever notice that? You know, if you're watching a video and you go to the bathroom, walk outside, and you come back, it's off, or your TV went off, or everything went off. You understand? So you feel like you kind of got to rush around when you've got these things on because everything's on a timer, and everything has a battery in it now. And you know, I spend time charging stuff just like everybody else does. Back when I was growing up, the only thing we had with a battery in it was a flashlight. You know what I mean? And those were, quote, ever-readies or whatever they were back when, you know. And what else? I got some more stuff. See, I've got to check my script. Yeah. Oh, you like this, but for all you old timers like me, if you know anything about cars, back in the, 50s, early 50s, when I first got into driving a vehicle, I was like 8 years old, and I was driving our pickup into town to get feed. I had to sit on pillows and stuff, but I would actually drive into town, go to the feed store and get feed. And it was standard shift, and you had a clutch and all that stuff. And yeah, and I took pride in shifting the gears without grinding them. There were no such thing as synchronizers back when I grew up. You just mashed them gear to gear. But also, the motors back then had points, plugs, and condenser. Okay, those were three things that wore out reasonably quickly. 6, 7, 8,000 less maybe miles, and about 2 or 3,000 miles maybe you had to replace it. It was quick, but yeah, points, plugs, and I could actually set the points on a car. You know what I mean? I'd use a penny or something to set the spacing, because they'd say you get the specs, and it'd say it was so many thousandths. Well, I don't know what a thousand. You had a gapping tool if you wanted to use it. I think I may have gotten one later. But the condenser, what you could do with a condenser, it was a little round object about, I don't know, big around as a nickel and maybe an inch long or so. That was called a condenser, and it had a little tail on it where you hooked it up. And what you could do is you could hold that close to a spark plug, and the spark would charge this thing, and then you could throw it on the ground and somebody come by and pick it up, and it'd shock the crap out of them. Did I ever do that? Yeah, hell yeah I did. I mean, once I found out how to do it. Anyway, what else can I tell you? I got some more notes. I'll get some more here. Let me fill up. Yeah, I think I just ran out of ammo. But anyway, enough said about that. But the old times and the new times are just times. Remember that. Wherever you are, be there and enjoy it best you can, because you can't change. You just can't do it. And I know it frustrates me because it's moving faster than my little old mind. I'm 74 years old. It's moving a lot quicker than I can keep up. But in some ways, it challenges me, and I enjoy it because it gives me something to do. I've been totally retired for a long time, and yeah, otherwise I'd be sitting here watching that campfire on that and listening to that crackling, which to me is very appealing, by the way. But you guys that you guys that are say in your early 40s or mid 40s, you may have touched on that universe that I just described. You may have touched on it, and you may be aware of some of those things. But to have lived in that environment where you actually had to take wrenches and equipment and go out and work on a motor, and there was no such thing as hooking it up to the computer and doing the diagnosis or diagnostics. You had to figure it out. And what was great about that time is people, like myself included, I think, is by the sound of the engine, I could tell whether it was a valve, bad valve, or a spark plug, or the points, or, you could just tell by the way the engine sounded, kind of what was going wrong. Oh, here's one I remember now, a little flashback. Some of you may remember the great big white sidewall tires, the tires that had the big white sidewalls. I mean, a white sidewall about 4 inches wide or more. Oh, I thought those were the neatest thing in the universe. And how about this one? And I'll end the video. How about driving into a gas station and receiving service? Are you kidding me? Yeah, hell, people actually worked. They wore their little uniforms. They'd come out and check the oil and check the water in the radiator, check the air in the tires, clean the windshield while they were pumping the gas. Isn't that crazy? You go into a station now, you're hoping you can figure out how to make the pump work after it interviews you. They ask you your zip code, whether you want a car wash or whether you want a special additive to your gasoline, and if not, why not? On and on it goes. Instead of, you got to service them now. They don't service you, and that's pretty much true everywhere. But having said that, this has been a fun video, and been a cold night. I'm glad I'm not having to work out in this stuff, and there are some people that are, and I wish them well. But having said that, guys, maybe you can see my thumbs up here. Thumbs up. Carpe diem, adios, bye-bye. Buy anything you want anytime. But if you think about it, use the link to Amazon products in the description of all of my videos. Doesn't cost you a penny. Use it if you want to. Drink plenty of beer. Drink plenty of water. Stretch, walk. And, stand guard at the door of your mind. Things are changing. I get frustrated. I'm human. We all are. But anyway, another Beer 30 Fireside chat that's going to get 2 views. Adios, guys. Bye-bye.